War. It is the crucible of nations, the ultimate test of human ingenuity, courage, and resolve. From the fields of Normandy to the skies over Britain, history is written in the ink of conflict and the blood of heroes. It is a story of strategy, sacrifice, and the relentless march of technology against a determined foe. But sometimes, the foe is a little less determined and a little more feathered. Tucked away in the footnotes of the 20th century is a conflict so bizarre, so utterly ridiculous, it almost sounds like a tall tale. But it was real. This is the story of the time a modern, mechanized army was deployed against a flightless bird, and the birds won. This is the incredible, true story of the Great Emu War. To understand this bizarre chapter, we must travel back to 1932. The world is reeling from the Great Depression, and nowhere is the bite of poverty felt more keenly than in the remote, sun-scorched wheat belt of Western Australia. Here, a rugged community of farmers is trying to scratch a living from the unforgiving earth. But these aren't just any farmers. They are heroes, veterans of the First World War, who had survived the horrors of Gallipoli and the Western Front. As a reward for their service, the Australian government had given them land through a soldier settlement scheme. It was a promise of a new life, a peaceful future. The problem? The land was marginal at best, and the price of wheat was plummeting. Their dream was turning to dust. And just when they thought their troubles couldn't possibly multiply, they did. By 20,000. The emu, Dromaeus novahollandii, a giant of the bird world. Standing up to 2 meters tall, it is a shaggy, prehistoric-looking creature with dinosaur-like legs capable of carrying it at speeds of nearly 50 kilometers per hour. And every year, after their breeding season, they migrate towards the coast in search of food and water. In 1932, an army of some 20,000 emus descended upon the farmlands of Campion and Walgowan. For the birds, it was paradise. An endless, irrigated buffet of delicious wheat. For the farmers, it was a mobile plague. The emus didn't just eat the crops. Their sheer weight and clumsiness flattened everything in their path. Worse, they would crash through the carefully constructed fences, which not only failed to stop them, but also opened up gaping holes for another devastating pest to enter, rabbits. The farmers fought back with everything they had, but it was no use. The feathered horde was relentless. In desperation, a delegation of the ex-soldiers traveled to Perth to plead with their former comrade, the Minister of Defense, Sir George Pearce. Their request was simple and born of military experience. Give us the tools to fight. They wanted machine guns. Sir George Pearce saw an opportunity. Helping the beleaguered veterans would be great for public relations. And what better way to showcase the effectiveness of the Army's brand new Lewis automatic machine guns? Plus, the local politician for the region was heavily lobbying for military action. The decision was made. This would not be pest control. This would be a proper military engagement. The Royal Australian Artillery was mobilized. A newsreel cinematographer from Fox Movietone was even brought along to capture the glorious victory for the nation to see. And so, the Army arrived. All of it. Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery, accompanied by Sergeant S. McMurray and Gunner J. O'Halloran. Their arsenal, 2 Lewis guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. 3 men and a cinematographer against 20,000 emus. The odds, it seemed, were in the Army's favor. The first battle took place on November 2nd. The soldiers located a flock of about 50 emus. The plan was simple: herd them into an ambush. The Lewis gun was mounted, its barrel glinting in the Australian sun. But the emus, it turned out, were tactical geniuses. As soon as the gun opened fire, the large flock didn't panic and run in one direction. Instead, it instantly split into numerous small units, running erratically, making it impossible for the gunner to draw a bead on any single target. After hundreds of rounds were fired, a measly handful of birds were killed. A frustrated Major Meredith would later compare the birds to Zulu warriors for their brilliant guerrilla tactics. The second attempt, a few days later, was even more humiliating. The soldiers found a flock of over 1,000 emus near a local dam. This time, the ambush was perfect. The birds were in close range. Victory was assured. The gunner took aim, squeezed the trigger. The gun had jammed. The 1,000-strong feathered army, after a moment of mild curiosity, simply turned and wandered off, completely unharmed. Major Meredith was a professional soldier. He would not be defeated by an avian foe. He adapted. His new strategy, a mobile offensive. One of the Lewis guns was mounted onto a speeding truck. They would chase the emus down. What followed was one of the most absurd spectacles in military history. The rough farmland made the truck bounce so violently that the gunner couldn't hit a thing. The emus, capable of reaching high speeds, effortlessly outran the vehicle. In one legendary moment, a single emu ran alongside the truck. The gunner had a perfect shot, but the bird was so close, he couldn't get the gun to bear on it. In a final act of defiance, the emu reportedly veered and crashed into the truck, getting tangled in the steering wheel and causing the vehicle to swerve off the road into a fence. After nearly a week of this war, the numbers were tallied. Almost 10,000 rounds of ammunition had been fired. The Major's most optimistic claim was 986 kills, meaning it took over 10 rounds of machine gun fire to kill a single emu. It was a logistical nightmare and an unmitigated failure. The operation was called off. The media and the nation erupted in laughter. One ornithologist mockingly wrote that the military campaign was an attempt at the mass destruction of the birds. A politician in the Australian Parliament acidly asked if a medal was to be decorated for the emus who had won the war. Bowing to pressure, the military actually went back for a second attempt a few weeks later. They had slightly more success, but the conclusion was the same. It was simply not cost-effective. The army officially admitted defeat. The real solution came later, in the form of a successful bounty system that paid farmers to do the job themselves. The Great Emu War remains a bizarre footnote, a testament to humanity's occasional arrogance in the face of nature. It proved that modern technology is no match for an unpredictable, determined, and frankly, ridiculous foe. It is a story of failure, yes, but it is also a powerful reminder that sometimes the most important battles are the ones we have the good sense to walk away from, especially when the enemy can run faster than your truck. If you'd like to learn about more glorious failures, make sure to check out our Epic Fails in History playlist. And to ensure you never miss another historical absurdity, subscribe and ring the bell. Thanks for watching.